Conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone, good morning. Any doubts from previous topics? In our last session, we have discussed about type groups. Due to system issue, we have never checked in the program level. So we will see this first and then we will discuss about conversions and interfaces. So as discussed earlier, why we use type groups? So type group is one of data dictionary repository object which is used to create global data types and constants using type group. So whichever program it requires a data type or constant, instead of creating program level, you can create globally if you feel that particular declaration will be used in multiple programs. So let me create a program to understand this type group. So click on create program to use type groups and type of program executable, save, save as local object. Now here I wanted to get customer data based on country, India. Then select star from KNA1 into table. I'll use VBAK. There is no data in KNA1 now. Into table IT VBAK where AUART equal to OR. This is document type. So internal table we have to create IT VBAK type table of VBAK. So pretty print save if psi-sub rc equal to 0 and if write success. So pretty print save check activate and execute. So what happened? We don't have data here. VBAK settings user parameters. Let me change to field name. So here we have AURT. So if I enter OR, I'll be able to get the data. But what is the problem? The problem here is AURT in database level, it was stored as TA. So you have to pass as TA only. If you pass OR, then it will not identify. But how data dictionary, which is able to identify when you enter OR, how it is able to get the data related to order type TA. So here, whatever data which is stored, that is database format. And what you enter here is user external format. There are two types of formats are available in data: user enter format and database format. So here there is a difference between user entered format and database format. Data dictionary is able to understand, but our program which is not. Why? Because data dictionary which is using conversion routine in the backend. That's where it is able to understand. But here we are not using conversion routine. So then we have to pass database value. So whenever you pass database value, then only it will read the data. But in program, always we will pass in this way hard coded. No, we have to pass using a constant. Then how do we create a constant? Using constant keyword. Constant c underscore AUART type AUART document type and type followed by value followed by your value. So that is var. Now this c underscore AUART you need to pass instead of hard coded, you have to pass here where AUART equal to c underscore AUART. But will it get the data? No, because you are passing OR. It has to be converted. How can we convert? If you go to this particular reference data element, under you have domain, and then you can see here routine is there. So this is what which is helping us to convert external to internal, internal to external format. If you double click on this routine, you can see there are two function models which SAP created. So one function model which is used to convert into internal format, one function model which is used to convert to external format. So input and output, there are two things are there, and we have to use this format any function model to achieve our result. So first let me check what is this input format. Execute. I'll just enter OR and execute. So now you can see input format is nothing but if you give external format, that is what user is going to enter, and it is giving database format. In the database how it was stored. So external to internal is called input format. So this function module will help us to bring database values, and you need database format to in external format, then other function module you need to use. So if you pass TA, this function module, it will give OR. This is database format and this is your external format. So now I know which function module I have to use. So I'll use this function module here. How do we call function module? Go to pattern and use this function module which you wanted to call. Continue, and input you have to pass your value, but remember, so constants values we cannot change at runtime. So you cannot use constant to pass to conversion exit. So what you need to do, you have to uh, pass this value to another variable AUART equal to C underscore AUART. So now here we need to create one more variable LVAUART type AUART, and then use this variable for this function module as input and output, and uncomment this. So pretty print, save, and whichever function module, okay, you never see exceptions, which means only you can see input and output. There is no exception. For that function modules, we no need to check size abarc. Okay. So simply we have to check whether we have value or not. That's enough. So if LVAUART initial, is not initial means it has data, then call this database fetch and then get the records. So pretty print, save, check, activate. Now execute. So it will say success, which means it is able to get the data. So if you want, you can place a breakpoint here and execute, and this is your hard coded value OR, and F6 we are passing to local variable, and then F6. So function model which is converting from OR to TA, and you are checking and then getting the data. So if you have data, 18,000 records are there, then you are saying success. So in debug, you will have more clarity if you are confused. And here, this is local declaration, but I don't want a local declaration. I need a global. Then go to SC11 and use type group and enter type group name which you wanted to create. I wanted to create a type group. This is what my type group name. Click on create, enter short description, type group for global data types and constants. Save as local object. So now this constant, whatever I have used, I'll remove from here and I'll add it here. But remember, when you are adding a constant with the name, this name must start with type group component name underscore. So it has to start type group component name underscore. So save, check, activate. So now this particular constant, you can use it in code. So copy this constant instead of this C underscore ART we don't have. So here you just pass this one. So pretty print, save, check, activate, and execute. So now if you see here, I am using a constant which is not declared here. And where this declaration is happened, this declaration is happened inside type group. So sometimes what will happen, your program may not able to understand this declaration. So it will give error. In that case, you have to use types, type hyphen pools. So this is the command you have to use, and then enter your type group component name here. If in case system is unable to refer your type group, in that case you have to use this type hyphen pools and your type group name, so that it will pointing to the type group and then it will capture the constant from there. So the advantage with this is you can create once and use it in multiple places. That is what the advantage. So wherever in program you need this type group component, simply you can go and call it. So if you see, this is an internal table declarations. I want this internal table to be created globally, not locally. Then you can remove this and then go here. So currently I'm editing, go back and then enter. But remember, you should not use data keyword here. Okay. You have to use types. types, and then mm, ty vbak and type followed by vbak occurs 0. So pretty print, but remember your type group name, it has to start with type group underscore. So pretty print, save, check, activate. So now by using this, you can create your internal table. So instead of type table of addition, data itvbak type followed by this reference. So what is the difference between above and below? LVRT is invalid. Okay, this is comma. So what will be the difference between above internal table declaration and below internal table declaration? The above internal table declaration is happened using type group component table type. So this is table type. So what is table type? If you have created type group component by using type addition and using occurs and 0, then this is a table type. So now which is going to refer VBAK. So VBAK, whatever a structure you have, all the fields, this structure will be allocated to this particular type group component, and occurs it will allocate body and 0 allocate memory. Now this will become a table type which is ready to hold multiple records. So whenever you are referring a table type using type keyword, then you can create internal table, so you no need to use type table of. So when we have to use type table of, if you are referring vbak only, then you need to use type table of like below. But here what happened, using vbak they have created a type and assigned memory and body, then this will become a table type. When you are using table type, you no need to use type table of. So why I am saying these many times, because in previous alv reports we have created internal table using it events or another function mode, another internal tables, it field cat, it events. So at that time we have used slice type group or type pools, and we have referred type group components of slice. So that's where I'm insisting this many times. So don't confuse. Internal table will be created using type keyword as well as type table of keyword. But the difference, type table of always reference by the database tables, and a type which is always reference table types. So in this way, we can create a global internal tables or constants or any other declarations, and you can use those things in your program wherever you want. That is what the advantage of type group. So if in with this understanding, just go and check the type group of slice. This is SAP created. If you go and check, now you will understand. So this is types followed by a type group component, and if you observe here, every component inside this type group which is always started with type group component name. So they have created this using type n. For example, you need a type n variable in your program, then you can use this data type as a reference. So now these are all data types, you can use these data types as a reference. For example, I wanted to use a character one field. So usually how we will create character one field? Data LV, for example, LV gender type C. Okay, now LV gender equal to, I can pass male, female like this, right? LV gender. Let me comment this. So now I can able to print gender information into output. To print gender information, I need a data type which is character, and with that character I can create my data object. Now I am not going to use this type C. I'll use this data type sliss underscore char1, because this is also a data type. So pretty print, save, check, activate, execute. So I'll be getting the same result because this is also a data type which is created globally under sliss. So this is data type, and this one also a data type, but here this is a structure. How I can say structure? Because it is referring type followed by some other value, data type. So this is structure. So whatever structure it has, all the structure reference which will be given to this particular data type. So if you use this data type, then you can create a structure and you can pass values to these particular components, and you can use that. And if I use this one, then it is a internal table. Why? Because it has occurs and zero. So if I wanted to pass single value to this structure, type, group, field name, tab name, a single information, single record, then I can refer this structure sliss qinfo alv. But if I wanted to pass multiple values to this particular components, multiple records, then I have to use the below one, because it will create the internal table. So that's where you remember these are all types, data types and constants which created globally and used locally in programs wherever it is required. So it will, what it avoids a reusable data, making hard coded way. So always remember, your code will be reusable. To make your code reusable, you have to use this global declarations. And whenever you created a global declaration, and that code can access by multiple programs. And I wanted to know where and all this list logic they have used. Simply you can place here and click on where is the list, so that you will get the list components wherever they have used. So place it and then where use the list and select all and then continue. Yes, so that wherever type group components are used, all the places you can able to see. So this is about the type group, and we will start conversions and interfaces. Let me open PPT. So what is conversions and interface? Conversion and interface is a process which is used to convert non-SAP data to SAP understandable format and then move that data to SAP database. So this is what conversion and interface. So when we use this conversion and interface, and as a ABAPer, where your role is involved and what you do exactly in conversion and interface. Let's take a example, Tata Motors. He was running business from 1945 to 2001 using non-SAP software. And after 2001, he identified the exact uses of SAP and then he purchased software from SAP. Now the question is, from 1945 to 2001, data whatever it is created using non-SAP software, that data how we can move to SAP database, HANA database. And because this data is important for business, so they cannot ignore that data. So they need that data. So the data, whatever it is there in non-SAP, so how can we move? And SAP will it accept this data if I pass? Then this conversion and interfaces which comes into picture, and conversion is one time activity in a project and interface is based on requirements repeated activity, and conversion which is done by middleware team who learns middleware languages. There are some tools are available, TIBCO, Solaris, these are all the tools. And who learns the tools, those people are called middleware consultants. And these people work is they will receive data in a raw format, and they will be insisted to convert this data to understandable format by the database. Then the middleware team, what they'll do, they'll create mappings and then they'll convert non-SAP format data into SAP format. So how they will convert non-SAP to SAP format? If you look at this picture, non-SAP format means 1945 to 2001 Tata, which they are using to store date information like this, and then country information 3 characters, and language 3 characters, and currency they are going to store in their database $200 like symbols. And for them, customer is a customer. But SAP, it will not accept this format. SAP need a different format. Country always 2 characters, language will be 2 characters, and currency, if it is a dollar, which you need to mention it is a USD, then only it will accept to store the data. So now who will convert this format from dollar to USD or ENG to EN? Who will do this? That is going to do by conversion team, middleware team. They will write some rules, and whenever data from non-SAP, it find that it has a symbol dollar for the currencies, automatically that rule it will convert to USD. And such kind of rules a middleware team they'll write, and middleware team is responsible to convert SAP format data. And this is the first action. So whenever legacy data means the data which is not SAP format, and our customer is having that data when he need the data into our SAP HANA database. So that data first we have to convert to SAP HANA understandable format, and that conversion which is done by the middleware team, and they will write the rules, they'll convert to SAP understandable format. And this is one time activity in a project, and this is not going to perform by ABAPer, and this is not your role. So now conversion is completed. So non-SAP data which is converted into SAP understandable format. Then how this data it will go inside database to HANA. So this data will go inside HANA database using interface techniques. There are lot of interface techniques which are available, which provided by SAP to move SAP format data to SAP database. So now you have data which is SAP can understand, that is given by your conversion team. Now this data, using interface techniques which SAP provided, you can move to SAP HANA database. And these techniques year by year which are changing, and then there is always best practices, and the recommended approach always from SAP is whatever data you receive from non-SAP to SAP, that data first you have to check with your functional, and your functional has to tell you that how this data manually we will create in the system. Let's say you received a customer data in a file which is SAP understandable format. Now business asking you to implement any interface technique to move this data to HANA database. So before you are going to do this, first you have to ask a person who is creating customer in SAP system. You need to ask him how you will create customer in SAP system. Then he will show you what is the transaction he was using and how the data he was entering in the screens to create the customer. So why this is important? Because after a non-SAP data to converted data, SAP data you receive, this SAP data, it is not exactly like where you are going to enter into the database. So some data may be wrong, some data may be having misleading information, or might be mandatory inputs they haven't provided. To understand all these things, first you have to know the process how manually in SAP a customer is created if it is a customer related data. So once you understand that, then next task is you need to use interface techniques which SAP provided. These are the different techniques, and direct input, batch, LSNW, BAPI, ALI docs, and so many other techniques also we have, proxies. So whatever it is, the best practice always is to pass your data to SAP transactions, and from the transaction you need to store your data into database. To achieve this, direct input, batch input, LSMW, ALIDOC, or any other technologies which may not helpful. And the best always suggestible approach is to use BAPI. So BAPI is the main approach, interface approach, which is recommended to use to upload your data to SAP database tables. And remaining technologies, they have drawbacks, and that's the reason it is not recommended. Direct input, which is SAP provided technology, there are SAP standard transactions are available, and that transaction simply it will ask you to provide the file with the data what you wanted to upload. And when you given that file, and when they run that program, this file data directly it will go and sit in the database tables. Sorry. So now you may have a doubt. Our task is to store data to SAP database, and that is what direct input is doing. Then what is the problem? The problem is, if it is directly uploading to the database, then it is a chance improper information to be uploaded, or dependent information will not be uploaded, which means if a customer has to be entered into the customer sales table, that customer must be exist in customer master table. That is a validation, right? So whenever you are placing a sale order, and to a customer, that customer must exist in the system. If customer is not there but you are trying to place sale order, then it is not correct. Usually transaction will not accept because it is always checking with the customer master table. But if you use this direct input to upload data to database, and you are doing the sales upload, and you have uploaded sales data for a customer, but that customer does not exist, then it is a improper information. That is not the correct information. So there are chances always using direct input to the database. It is very dangerous. And why it is dangerous? Because whatever data you enter, simply system, it will directly go and upload into the database without any checks. And who is recommended to perform this action? If you are functional guy, or if you are a business analyst, and you know what is the data you are going to enter, and 100% that data is a genuine data, and there is no dependency at all, then only it is recommended to use direct input process. And direct input process is very fast process. And that because you are going to use standard SAP given programs, and that programs directly it will upload data to SAP database table without any checks. And that's where it is very fast. And at the same time it's very dangerous if you are not familiar with the data what you are uploading. And that's where it's not recommended. And then batch input. So batch input also not recommended because it will process your data through screens, but for that reason you need to provide the screen numbers for the system. Then only it can process your data through screens. And during the upgrade times, what will happen, the screen numbers whatever you have given to the system, which will change. So whenever it is changed, these programs whatever you created which will not helpful, then every program will fail. So that's where this is also not recommended. And LSMW, it's a tool. There are predefined steps. You don't have any other options. So you need to follow that steps and upload the data. If you wanted to add any validation or pre-checks, and you wanted to check the authorization whether this person can be executable or not, those things are not possible through LSMW because it is a tool which is SAP created for functionals to upload little amount of data to database. And BAPI. So as I told you, BAPIs are very efficient, and everybody is recommended to use because every transaction SAP they have created a BAPI. If it is a sales, if it is a bank, if it is a purchase order, for all the transaction codes, SAP they have created this BAPIs. And the difference between transaction and BAPI is transaction code. If you use, you can enter data manually, and using the transaction code you are going to store data. For that, functional consultants need business knowledge what data has to provide using the T code. But BAPI will also do the same thing, but BAPIs are designed for technical people, ABAPers. If the same operation what functional is doing through the T code, that has to be done via program, then ABAPer will use this BAPI. BAPI is a replica of the T code. But here also ABAPer he has to know which field what data he has to pass with the help of functional. And BAPIs will run through screens, and validation is present, and it will not upload data directly to the database. So in coming days you will come to understand that what is I'm talking. Okay, for now just understand, we have a non-SAP format data that we need to move to SAP database. So conversion team they'll convert and then place that data in a file which is SAP understandable. Now this information as a buffer you need to upload to SAP HANA database. Then you are going to use SAP provided technologies to upload this data to SAP database tables. So these technologies, few are SAP recommended, few are SAP not recommended, and few are recommended for ABAPer, and most of the times ABAPers recommended to use BAPI to upload the data. And ALE IDOCS, which is a cross application technology, there is a different approach why we use this technology that we when we are into ALE IDOCS we will discuss. So ultimately, final task is to store non-SAP data into SAP database tables. So now, as I said, first conversion team, they'll convert and then place data in a file, right? So that file in SAP terminology, we call it as flat file. And this flat file, which has two different names, presentation server file and application server file. So what is this presentation and application servers files is the file which is available uh, based on the uh, placement, like your conversion team, they have converted and then sent an email to you to upload the data to database in a Excel or Word or Notepad. Then this kind of file is called presentation because they have sent this data through a mail, and that mail is yours, and then it contains attachments with the data. So you are going to download the data into your desktop, and you can only see that data. So in your company multiple developers are there, then they may not see your data because this data you have received in a Excel to your through a mail in Excel for you only. Then other developers they cannot see because this is only opened by you and checked by you. So that is called presentation. If the file is there in the desktop, then that file is called presentation server flat file. Sometimes what conversion team they do, they'll be placing this file in a server, application server. So this is a server where it stores all the files data, and if the file has been sent to application server file, then this file is called application server flat file. And the advantage with application server flat file compared to presentation is presentation server file only you can access because that is in your desktop and your email. But application server file which is in SAP system, so whoever connected to SAP system, all the peoples can access that particular file data if they want. So depends on the requirements, conversion team they'll forward the file. And only thing is you need to understand this file is nothing but a converted data which is forwarded by the conversion team. And based on the file availability we have different names. If the same file which they have sent directly to you through email, then that file is called presentation server file. Or if the conversion team plays that file in a application server, then everybody can access, then that file is called application server file. So based on the availability of the file, we have these two names. And a presentation server file, how do we read the data? So now the file is there in the presentation server. So if a file is there, you need to read the data and then upload that data to SAP database. Then how you will read? These are the function models we will use to read the file data from your presentation server to program level. And these are the only function models. Don't we have any other approach? Yes, we have so many other approaches. Even object oriented ABAP through also you can read the file data. But the intention here, once file is there, first what is your action to upload data to database? First you have to read the data from your desktop file to program level, then only you can upload. So this is the one function model which SAP given if you wanted to read the data from file to your program. So that is GUI upload. And sometimes what will happen, we have to get the data and then prepare the files. In that case we will use download function module to get to upload data, upload function module. To download data we use download function module. Similarly, we have file in application server, so that file data how we will read, or how we can place file into application server. These are the function model: open data set, read data set, close data set. So this is used to, if there is a file in application server and you want data from that file, then you can use this function model. Open data set, it will open your file. Read data set, it will read the file data. And close data set, it will close your file which is open. For example, you wanted to transfer some data to application layer, you wanted to place some data, then open data set, which will open your data set, which means file. And then transfer, you need to use transfer keyword. So transfer, it will transfer your data to file. And finally we have to close our data set. So these are the file operations. And these are the some of SAP provided standard programs application wise. So you have a material related data, then you can use this standard program. And finance related, COPA related, then you can use this data. So these are the standard SAP T codes which SAP given if you wanted to directly upload your data to SAP database. And this is not recommended because errors we cannot handle properly, and there is always a chance where improper information or incorrect information which will go and sit in the database level. So to avoid that, you have to 100% sure this data is properly correct what you are trying to upload. So then only use this method, but this method is very fast, very quick. Batch input, these things I'll discuss later. So main thing is we have to discuss about a BAPI. So for the BAPI purpose, we will going to use a concept, so that I'll see tomorrow. The concept is nothing but we are going to receive a file from our end users. What happened? So our end users, which they are going to send us a file, and our end users, our conversion team, whatever it is. So you are going to receive a file. So basically that file contains bank information, and they are going to send country, which means bank country, and then bank name, and bank ID, and bank name, and bank city, region. So these are the data they'll send us in a Excel file. And this data we have to upload to SAP database. City Hyderabad, region Telangana. So they will send us a file with a list of banks. Okay, so our task is to read this data and then upload to our SAP database table. So how we can treat this information? Our Tata company, they are doing business in non-SAP uh, software, and when they are doing business with non-SAP software, these are the banks they are using for finance transactions. Now these banks information we need to create in SAP, because now Tata customer is using SAP. Now to use these banks, first these banks has to be created in SAP system. Now in SAP system, how we will create a banks? So there is a transaction code called FI01. So if you use this FI01 transaction, we can create. But the problem here, this list we have hundreds, and end user, if you ask him to create banks manually, he has to run this T code hundreds of time, and he may miss few of the bank information to enter properly, because manual work is very difficult. We cannot 100% assure he entered created all the banks. and this is very crucial for business. And that's what, instead of asking end user to manually run and then create the banks inside the SAP using FI01, we were they will ask ABAPer to create a program, and program input is file. So we will give this file. Automatically this file information, it has to go to FI01, and using FI01 it will go and store all the data in a table BNKA. So this is the table it has to store, and inside the program we don't know what you are going to use. That is what functional or end user is going to say. So they'll just give you a requirement. So their requirement is, we wanted to upload this data to SAP database table, but the problem here, we have a T code, but these hundreds of records, if we given to our end users to manually enter and then store it, then it is a very difficult task. They will do mistakes. So we were not take that risk, because this is very crucial for business, and we should not miss any bank data. So for that reason, you have to create a program for us and give it to us, so that we will enter this file information and then run that program, so that this data whatever we entered, it has to go and upload to SAP database table BNKA. So this is what we wanted to see. So this example we will run tomorrow, and we will see as a ABAPer how we can upload this data to SAP database table, so that a similar task like this is for bank. Sometimes they'll ask for purchase order, sometimes they'll ask for customers. So the requirements will be same, but the data what they are going to send are the transactions which they are going to use, that is different. But the process what I'm going to explain, that is applicable for every kind of uh, interface which you are received in your work. So I'll be stopping with this today. We'll discuss on this topic from tomorrow. Any doubts so far? Okay, if no questions, we can wind up for the day. Thank you. Bye.